Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 25th, 2023. We have a very warm day today. It's in the 60s. There's no rain. We had a sprinkle this morning. Yesterday it had stopped raining early in the morning. So I'm letting some of the area up in the food forest dry out some. I'm hoping for a little bit more of a breeze. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on the garden here. So we're in the central garden right here. He had already harvested all the remainder of the tomatoes. This morning I went out, and this is where the tomatoes were. I went out and removed the tomato cages and took all of the vine material, the tomatoes and all that, put it out in the compost pile. And I also went ahead and disconnected the timers, although I had already turned them off probably 2 weeks ago. I disconnected them, pulled the batteries, the automated timers, so that they don't freeze up. And I just brought the timers inside for the winter. And I just pulled all the galvanized pins that hold the weed mats down, similar to these weed mats over here. I did clean off the weed mats as well. And so what I'm going to do next is get these two beds ready for garlic and shallots. So these beds are a little bit bigger. I may end up doing a third bed too, but I don't think I've got enough seed, so garlic or shallots, to do that. We had a really small turnout this year because we did it over there in that garden bed, and in those garden beds rather. So these ones are larger, so hopefully we'll get more out of it this year. So, and it's compacted, so we had acorn squash in this row. We had the tomato plants and a pepper plant in this row. This late spring we terminated the cover crop, which had vetch, clover, daikon radish, wheat, rye, vetch, collards, and other brassicas. I can't remember the rest. So I terminated those late in the spring or early summer, and then we put in the tomato plants here, acorn squash here, some what do we have, the Sweet Georgia roaster candy squash, Hubbard squash. We did put in honey melon and watermelon, but the deer ate those. Hubbard squash and butternut squash we had over here. So I just cleaned those mats off today to get them ready. I may end up putting in some winter rye. In years past, there's no way I would have considered doing it this late in the season, but we're having such warm weather later and later each year. This is typically our first frost date right now, October 25th. But so I don't know that I will do that. But since it's a decent day today, I thought what I'd do is, since these beds are compacted, come down with a broad fork. And I've made videos about this in the past, but this is going to open up aeration and all. Then I'll run the tilther down both beds, probably twice each way. That'll just disrupt 1.5 inches deep, maybe 2 inches, depending, so I can get the garlic and the shallots in there, and they can drive down the rest of the way. The fork, it's about every 8 inches apart or so that I'm using the broad fork. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. Don't know that you need to see that happen again with another time-lapse video, because I've shot this so many times over the years. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is a decent day to get some bed prep and set for garlic and shallots. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, Thea's over there cleaning off some of the horseradish and wetting down the roots of the black currants. We'll do an update. Okay, I just got done broad forking and then tilting the beds, and I gotta say, without a doubt, The soil looks the healthiest, the most vibrant soil I've ever had. Now, those of you who've been watching for a while know that I've been a big proponent of thermophilic composting. I've made lots of videos over the years, large piles, and this is all gravel around in here. So we build up our beds using wood chips and compost to build the beds. And we've always had not always, but almost always have had very good results with our gardens and all. But one of the things I would say is, over the last several years, we've been putting in cover crops, and I've been experimenting with different varieties at different times. And these beds in this area, these all had the mixture of everything from daikon radish to vetch to rye, wheat, clover, other brassicas, a couple of different clovers actually. And I really overseeded the areas, and they grew up, and they were, if you look back at the videos, like early spring before I mowed it, it was taller than me, the cover crop. And the daikon radishes were much larger in diameter than my wrists. And so what we ended up doing was flail mowing it, and then we put the weed mats over the top of it. And then we put the seed, we put the drip tape in the center of it, and we planted the tomato plants, and then we planted a couple of squash around here. It was all second thought. I really wasn't worried, and the squash turned out to be great, even though it was late in the season. Tomatoes were fantastic. I think we only had 4 or 5 plants, maybe 6 plants, and 1 pepper plant, and that really worked out great. But with the tarps, with the weed mats being over the surface of it, I expected when I used the broad fork to run into some of those big, huge, honking daikon radish roots, or any of the other roots down in there, and there's none of them. The only roots I ran into were from the tomato plants that were in this bed. No roots from the acorn squash. But the thing that I would say is, when you're using the broad fork and you're using those big tines going down in, I think they're 8 inches, or I can't remember just how deep they are. But when it goes down, it fractures the soil, almost like an earthquake, where large sections of structured soil are separated from one another. And you just see all the earthworms pulling back in of each one of those fragments of the earthquake, if you will. But the soil structure is so well maintained. Now, I did disrupt the soil structure by running the tilther down the surface of the beds. So this is easily friable. This is so I can get the garlic and the shallots planted in here. But the structure beneath the area that I tilted is just amazing. It maintained the soil structure so well. If you were to stick it in a bucket of water, I don't think it'd ever come apart. No, it would eventually, of course, but this is the best looking soil, the most macroscopic organisms, so the earthworms in it that I've ever seen. And I've really had some great soil in the past, but this is just amazing. And for those who don't know what the tilther is, I'll show you the garden tilther. We just use my DeWalt battery operated drill to operate it. So this is the tilther here, and so it could go down as far as 2.5 inches, but I only run it about 1.5 to 2 inches, because you can check the depth with this part here, but it's just operated by that little drill. And that's amazing. And this is the broad fork here that I use. And when those forks go down into the soil, instead of the soil fragmenting and little pieces falling off, it's like you're separating very compacted snow, and it just separates from each other without any pieces fragmenting down and falling apart. And that's really tells you about how good the soil structure is from all the microorganisms basically gluing the soil components together, and it's a huge network of beneficial microorganisms that do all the work for us. So, you know, I really switched to the cover crops when we had the persistent herbicides in the manures that we were getting and all. And so, man, am I ever glad that that happened, because I would never have recognized how beautiful the beneficial aspects of the cover crops are. And I think this is the 3rd year we've done it on these beds. So cover crops give me 5 stars up, 5 thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever you want to say. It's just amazing. So Thea's over there working. You can hear her pressure washing horseradish. So in yesterday's video I told you I had gone up and dug up the horseradish and then did the painstaking separating it from the clumps of soil up in the between the 2nd and 3rd food forest. And so Thea right now is pressure washing some of it. She's separated some. I'm coming to talk to you, hon. You could say hello to everybody. So she's got Suki. This is her equipment. I got the old Pepe there. So what are you doing, hon? Tell us what you're up to.
Kevin found horseradish out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to process it, which means that we take it out of the ground, we get the pieces we want to go ahead and save, and we pressure wash them, and then we put the pressure washer ones over there, and then we work outside when we do our kind of peeling, and then put it in the food processor, little pieces, and add our white wine vinegar and salt, and we're good. Some goes in the freezer too, and some can go in the refrigerator. So that's the project today.
So this strips off a lot of the dirt and the grime that gets in a lot of the horseradish here. And this is sort of what it looks like beforehand. He's going through it now.
Dirty.
Dirty, dirty, dirty. Cleans it right up. And then in back of Suki here, she's got the ones that are going to get planted up there in the bed. So here's some horseradish to get planted. Lots of horseradish. And what do you think of your pressure washer there, hon?
I love it because it's easy to start, it's electric, and it's not heavy to move around, and it's quieter.
So I have the big powerful one that I use to clean the equipment and all, and this is her Greenworks plug-in electric pressure washer, which doesn't make the noise, doesn't burn the fuel. And you wash your car with this,
yeah.
the Tesla?
Yep, it works really well. So I don't use the soap part out of it, we just use the water.
Yeah, it seems to do quite the job.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and hit something with it, hon.
Oh my God, let's hit something. Good, I think. You don't have the mud in the kitchen, or.
Yep.
And we soaked it in the water first to loosen things up.
Excellent. All right, hon.
All
Say
right.
goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day. Love you guys.
Take care and stay safe, folks. Bye-bye now.